Good. Jade. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله سبحانه وتعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Now, here we go. For the benefit, ikhwan, of those that perhaps weren't here prior to the salah, and those that are tuning in on the Mixer and online, I'm going to repeat what I said prior to the prayer, bi'idhni Rabbina Azza wa Jal. But before I go into that, what I would like to say is Jazakumullahu khaira for all of you. Jazakumullahu khaira for your attendance today. And I'm really happy to see, mashallah, that maybe half of you have come with notebooks and pens, which means you guys are ready to study. And that's not a dig or a shot at anybody that doesn't have a notebook or a pen. But as some of the Salaf used to say, and I've mentioned it before, and inshallah ta'ala I'll keep mentioning it, قَيِّدُ الْعِلْمَ بِالْكِتَابَةِ قَيِّدُ الْعِلْمَ بِالْكِتَابَةِ. Sorry, yeah. قَيِّدُ الْعِلْمَ بِالْكِتَابَةِ means that you have to try and catch knowledge. And the way you're going to catch knowledge is only by writing it down. Because no matter how good your memory is, unless you write things down, you've got the memory like Imam al-Bukhari, then you don't need no pen or paper. But until that time, ikhwan, we have to get accustomed to having our pens and our books so that you can write these fawaid down. Because you never know when you may be in need of that benefit at a later date. Does that make sense, guys? That's in my pocket? Okay. Does that make sense, ikhwan? Yes. The importance of writing down knowledge. Now, I'm going to do something a little different in these lessons, and that is this. Usually, I like to, if I mention an ayah from the Kitab of Allah, or if I mention a hadith from the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would tell you where the ayah is or where that hadith can be found in the Sunnah. But now, I'll give you the daleel, because it's your right that I give you the daleel. But as it relates to where this ayah can be found, that's going to be for homework. Alright? So if I say, for example, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala يقول في القرآن واستعينوا بالصبر والصلاة وإنها لكبيرة إلا على الخاشعين. I might say, as homework, find out which verse in the Quran this ayah is. Okay? Or I may say, for next week, translate this ayah. Alright? The same with the ahadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. If I say, مثلا, النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول في حديث صحيح بني الإسلام على خمس. Al-Hadith. I say, next week, tell me where that hadith is from. And believe me, ikhwan, it's not a punishment that I'm giving you guys homework. It's so that you guys can learn. Because when you go back and you're trying to look, for example, for this hadith, Bunya al-Islamu ala khams, you're going to come across other ahadith, perhaps, that can be a proof for what we're speaking about. And perhaps you can share it next week. فإن شاء الله تعالى اليوم سنتكلم عن صفة صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم وسنأخذ بإذن ربنا عز وجل الأدلة التي تدل على ما يلي. So the next 5 points that I mentioned, these are the 5 points that we're going to cover. So for those of you that want to, you can write like subtitles. The title of this lecture is Sifatu Salat al-Nabi, the Prophet's prayer described. The Prophet's prayer described. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention an important point. When we're speaking about the Prophet's prayer described, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the most famous books that come to mind is the book authored by Shaykh al-Allama Nasiruddin al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala. He's got a 3-volume version of this book, and then there is a one volume abridged version of this book, which I can see, mashallah, brother al-Akhi, he's got the English version here, for those of you that are online as well. This is the English version, and it's 1 volume. However, when I spoke to one of my shaykhs, and I said that I'm going to be teaching Sifat Salat al-Nabi in the Masjid, he advised me to go through the explanation as an introduction of Sifatu Salat al-Nabi, but the version by Shaykh Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala. Now, I don't have the physical hard copy of the book, but it is available for free download on the internet. All you need to do is write on the internet. If you want this version, it's only 10 pages. It's not that much. All you have to do is type in Sifatu Salat al-Nabi or Tahmeel Sifatu Salat al-Nabi Ibn Baz, Lil Abdul Aziz, or the Abdul Aziz Ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala. Subsequently, if you can't do that, then speak to Adil, because I sent him a copy of this particular book in PDF form. So it'd be nice if you guys can try to get this in Arabic. Alright? To get this in Arabic, because I'm going to be translating as we go. Alright? Are there any questions, inshallah ta'ala, before we begin? Any questions?
Sheikh, why your Sheikh, did you ask your Sheikh why he recommended to take this?
Yeah, I asked him, and I mean, it was kind of clear. The question is, did my Sheikh did he explain why he advised me to start with, alaykum salam, the explanation by Shaykh bin Baz before Shaykh al-Albani's book? And the reason why is because this is mukhtasar. Mukhtasar meaning it's brief. It's brief, there's not much to it, as you can see. But if you look at the brother's translated version of the book, it's thicker. Alright, so Shaykh al-Albani, he goes into more details, difference of opinion and stuff like this. Shaykh bin Baz, he just goes straight into it. Alright, so it's a way of just trying to introduce yourself or to introduce ourselves to the topic at hand. You with me? No, there's no translation that I'm aware of this book, but in class I'm going to be reading and I'm going to be translating at the same time. And it's recorded, we got it on the mixer and we got it here, so if you ever need to go back to the class, then inshallah ta'ala you can try and find it on one of the social media outlets that we have, inshallah ta'ala. Any more questions, guys? Okay, so the first thing we're going to speak about is the khasa'is of as-salah, the khasa'is of as-salah li-ahli al-iman, li-ahli al-iman, that the exclusivity of the prayer for the people of faith. The people who have faith are who? The Muslims. The Muslims. And when I say khasa'isuha li-ahli al-iman, the exclusivity of the prayer for the people of iman, what I mean by that is that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala addresses the believers and orders the believers in the Quran with establishing the salah. Sorry guys, somebody tried to call me. Allah orders the believers in the Quran with establishing their prayer. So the prayer is a command for the people that have faith. It's a sign with the person that carries out the prayer. Kama amarahu Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Is a sign that this person believes in Allah and His Messenger. Alright, that's the first point that we're going to cover. The second subtitle that we're going to cover, bi'idhni Rabbina Azza wa Jal, we're going to look at the proofs and the evidences ala hubbullah subhanahu wa ta'ala lis-salah. The fact that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala loves the prayer. Now if Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala loves an action, isn't that sufficient for us as Muslims to perform the action? The fact that we know that the most merciful, the most kind, the all-seeing, the all-hearing loves this particular action, shouldn't now we want to, as His creation, do what He loves in accordance to our ability? What do you guys think? Bila shak. Bila shak. And this goes to show what? أهمية الصلاة عند الله تبارك وتعالى. The fact that Allah loves it is a dalil that goes to show that the prayer is important. The third thing that we're going to cover, أن الصلاة أول واجب بعد الشهادتين. That the prayer is the first obligation that the Muslim has to do after the testimony of faith. The prayer is the first thing that you have to do. It's not az-zakat, it's not al-hajj, and it's not sawm. The first thing that we as Muslims have to do once we enter al-Islam is establish the salah. And as I mentioned prior to the salah, I mentioned that when somebody becomes a Muslim, sometimes through our passion and our excitement, we start saying, brother, you need to start growing your beard. Brother, you need to pick a Muslim name. Brother, you need to start wearing a hat on your head. Brother, you need to start making sure that your trousers are above the ankle. Sister, start covering your hair. Sister, start covering your body. Sister, start wearing the niqab. All of these things, bila shak, they are important, some more than others, and they all have their place in the religion. With that being said, they're not more important than the prayer. Alright? They're not more important than the prayer. Does that make sense, ikhwan? It's the first obligation after the shahadatain and the most important. So once somebody becomes a Muslim, your focus and your intention should be on teaching them kayfa yusalli. How does that person pray? Alright guys? Point number 4. أنها أي الصلاة أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. Again, this is a tremendous dalil. When I say dalil, what does dalil mean, ikhwan? Not from those brothers that speak Arabic, somebody else. Proof. Jazita khaira. It's a dalil, alright, a proof that goes to show if the salah is the first thing that the slave is going to be asked about on the day of judgment, goes to show how important it is. If the person's prayers in order, then all of these affairs are going to be in order. If his prayers aren't in order, then this person has fouled and he's going to be in a miserable situation. Alright?
Just repeat that point, please.
Point number 4. أن الصلاة أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. That the prayer is the first thing that the servant or the slave is going to be asked about on the day of judgment. It's the first thing. Again, all of these things, these subheadings that I'm covering now, all go to show how important the prayer is in Al-Islam. Alright guys? You got that, Akhi?
Yes.
جيد. وأخيرا سنأخذ بإذن ربنا عز وجل الأدلة على من قال أن تارك الصلاة كافر. We're going to look at the proofs and the evidences briefly, not in great detail. We're going to look briefly at the proof and evidences for those who say from among the ulama that the one that abandons the prayer is a kafir. He exits the fold of al-Islam. Now bearing in mind this issue, there's ikhtilaf between the scholars as the one that leaves off the prayer. The one that leaves off the prayer and he denies his obligation is a kafir, bil-ijma' of the scholars. If somebody says, I don't believe you have to pray, this person is mukadhibun lillah wa mukadhibun lirrasul alayhi salatu wasalam. The person that says, I don't believe you have to pray, I'm a Muslim but I don't believe you have to pray, this person has denied what Allah Ta'ala has explicitly mentioned in the Quran in so many verses. And he's also mukaththibun, he's a denier of what the Prophet ﷺ has mentioned in various ahadith, authentic ahadith in the Sunnah. Now, the last one, number 5, we're going to look at the proof and evidences of those that say that if you leave off the prayer, you're no longer a Muslim. Alright, the one that stops praying is no longer a Muslim. Now, I mentioned that there's ikhtilaf between the scholars because that's a part of the trust in disseminating knowledge. Not all of the scholars are unanimous, alright, in agreement that the one that leaves off the salah is a kafir. There's tafseel, there's detail in this mas'ala. Did the person leave it off and he denied his obligation? Did the person leave it off because he out of laziness? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Did he leave it off out of laziness? Did he leave it off because he was forgetful? Does he pray sometimes and he doesn't pray other times? There's detail to it. But generally speaking, there's a strong proof. We'll look at the proof that goes to show the one that leaves off the prayer is outside the fold of Islam. Does that make sense, ikhwan? It's so important for me, right, as an instructor, that everybody's on the same page before we move on. I don't want anybody to get lost in the source. Alright? I don't want nobody to get lost. So if you don't understand, say I don't understand, and I'll repeat it for as many times as I need to. Mashi?
Can you just give the titles again very briefly?
The titles again, okay. Alright, number 1, خصائص الصلاة لأهل الإيمان. The exclusivity of as-salah for the people of faith. Number 2, أن الله تعالى يحبها. أن الله تبارك وتعالى يحبها. Allah تبارك وتعالى, He loves the prayer. Number 3, أن الصلاة أول واجب بعد الشهادتين. That the salah is the first obligation after what, guys? The shahadatain. What's the shahadatain? Anta. هكذا. The shahadatain, لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. Number 4, أنها, i.e. the salah, الصلاة, أنها أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. That the salah is the first thing that the slave is going to be asked about يوم القيامة. And finally, number 5, الأدلة على من قال أن تارك الصلاة كافر. The proof and evidences for those who say that the one that abandons the prayer is a kafir. Ya Aba Sumayya, Barakallahu feek. Give us just those 5 points. بسرعة. No problem. Number 1. Number 2. You didn't know number 2? Oh, okay. Number 1, it says خصائصها لأهل الإيمان. The exclusivity of the prayer for the people of faith. Because Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala, He addresses the believers and He commands them with what, ikhwan? As-salah. أقيموا الصلاة. نعم. Number 2, يا أبا سمية. أن الله تبارك وتعالى يحبها. أن الله تبارك وتعالى يحبها. Guys, when I say yuhib is a verb which means He loves. When I say ha, yuhibbuha, what does ha go back to? Ya Mustafa. What does ha go back to? What does it mean? What is it? As-salah. Ha goes back to as-salah. Why did we say ha and not who? Why didn't I say أن الله تبارك وتعالى يحبه? Mumtaz. Guys, whenever you're going to get a lesson from me, I'm going to throw in Arabic, whether you like it or not. Like it, who likes it, hate it, who hates it, alright? Alright, ha, here, spelled ha, and then the alif, it's a attached pronoun. What we call an attached pronoun. It attaches to the end of the word, sometimes verbs, sometimes nouns, and this goes back to as-salah. Ha is going back to the word as-salah, and as-salah is a feminine noun. It ends with the ta al-marbuta at the end, which goes an indication that this word is feminine. Alright guys? Was that a bit over your head? No worries, one day you'll understand inshallah ta'ala. طيب, الآن أو بعد ذلك إن شاء الله تعالى سنقرأ كتاب صفة صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم للشيخ العلامة عبد العزيز بن باز مفتي المملكة سابقا بعنوان صفة صلاة النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then guys, we're going to go to read this book that I mentioned to you, that's authored by who? أنت, what's your name أخي? Mahiz. Mahir. MashaAllah. You know what your name means? What does it mean? Who knows what Mahir means? No, perfect.
From mahar, from the same word as mahar.
I don't think so. Mahir.
Mahir is artist.
Skillful. Skillful. Inshallah ta'ala, you're skillful, akhi. What is the name of the author of this book that I'm holding in my hand? The name of the author. Rahimahullah ta'ala. Excellent. Guys, you guys are on your toes. Mumtaz. طيب. للصلاة يا إخواني وأخواتي في الله شروط وأركان وواجبات وسنأخذها من خلال هذه المحاضرات بإذن ربنا عز وجل. وبعد انتهاء قراءة هذا الكتاب سننتقل بإذن ربنا عز وجل إلى كتاب صفة صلاة النبي للشيخ العلامة ناصر الدين الألباني رحمه الله تعالى. The prayer has conditions, it has arkan, which are known as pillars, and it has al-wajibat, which are known as those obligatory elements of the salah. Each of those 3 elements that I just mentioned, the conditions, the pillars, and the wajibat, they're all important. Some more important than others, alright? And we're going to look at what each one is, and the difference between them as well. We already mentioned qabla as-salah, we mentioned qabla as-salah, that the shurut are those things that need to be in place before an action takes place. Alright? Just remember the word shurut means condition, and a condition is something that's a necessity in order for the action to take place. Alright?
How many sharp is
We're going to cover that inshallah ta'ala. We're going to cover that shay'an for shay'an. Mumtaz. But just because somebody has fulfilled a condition doesn't mean that the action that condition is a requirement for is present. I'll say that one more time. The conditions are needed in order needed before the action takes place. Make sense?
Yes.
But just because somebody fulfills a condition doesn't mean the action in question is present. What do I mean by that? غيرك. غيرك. When I say غيرك, other than you, غيرك.
Can you ask the question again, please?
No problem, I ask it as many times as you want. I said that the shurut of the salah are those things that are needed before the actual salah takes place. Facing the qibla, being in tahara, covering your awra, alright? Etc. There's a few. Now, just because somebody fulfills a condition doesn't mean that the action that condition is needed for is present. What does that mean, Sheikh? Alhamdulillah, no problem. Sheikh Musa.
Meaning that the action is not done, although you have fulfilled it, it's not done. So you have to do the action now. After the requirements of fulfilling the action, you have to do the action.
One more time, Akhi.
After requirements, now you have to do the action. Meaning you have now in place what requires the action to be done, and the action now is the salah. So you have to do the salah now. If you have tahara, it doesn't mean now they are taking you to have the salah. So you have to do the salah for it to be taken. So, for example, you can't say that I have prayed because you had tahara, and you can't pray without tahara.
What you're saying is beautiful, excellent, but not what I'm looking for. What's your name, Akhi?
Is it the acceptance of the
دقيقة واحدة. What's your name?
Nakib.
Naqib.
Yeah.
MashaAllah, Naqib. Right, first time here?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Akhi.
Nice to meet you.
Go on. What do you understand from what I said?
If the action is sunnah,
The action is sunnah. What do you mean?
so if it's the condition, so you've done the act, but if you leave it off, it doesn't nullify the action you're doing.
Good effort, but not quite. Somebody over here now.
The wajibat required?
La, good try.
The shurut need to be there for the action, but the action is the acceptance of the action is not to do with the shurut.
You're very, very close. Let me just go to the little man here, then I'll come to you.
Just because you didn't do the action, you didn't do the thing to do the action, doesn't mean that it won't be taken.
It's an excellent try, Akhi. That's a fantastic try. Proud of you. Not quite though.
Let me
There's-
phrase it.
There's two ways I see it. One is that just
Do you guys, you want me to repeat the question one more time?
Yes.
Okay. The question is, we know that the conditions need to be there, ticked, as Sheikh Musa said, before we can do the action. We need to be in tahara before we can pray. We need to face the qibla before we can pray. We need to make sure that the correct time is in before we can pray. We need to make sure we're covering our awrah before we can pray. All of these shurut need to happen before we do the action. You guys with me? We on the same safha? Yeah? Mumtaz. Now I'm saying, just because somebody fulfills a condition doesn't mean that the action by which that is a condition for is present. Bismillah.
You said a condition, meaning you need all the conditions. That's or do you need all the conditions anyway?
Say that again?
You said just because someone fulfills a condition.
Yeah, a condition.
So now someone can have tahara but not be facing the qibla, not be in the khul al-waqt, not be the right time. Or if you mean that all conditions are present, he still then needs to actually do the action of salah.
What I was looking for is the first thing. What I mean, ikhwan, right? What I mean, just because somebody's in a state of wudu, like I'm in wudu right now, right? Doesn't mean that the time for prayer is necessarily in. Does that make sense? Just because I might stand up and just face the qibla right now, doesn't mean just because I'm facing the qibla, it's time for salah. Does that make sense, guys? Alright? So a condition The conditions are those things which are needed before the action takes place. Na'am, ittafaqna, we've agreed. But just because you fulfill a condition doesn't mean that, for example, you're in wudu, it's time for prayer. Does that make sense? You could be in wudu, but it's not time for prayer. You just want to be in a state of wudu. Make sense, guys? So it's very, very important to understand. As it relates to the arkan, what did I say the arkan means, Akhi Habib? You can't remember? No problem. Pillars. Pillars, right? And how I want you to understand, or pillars, a pillar is something that holds things up, right? Now, the difference between the shurut and the arkan is the arkan, the shurut are those things that are needed before the salah. But once you say Allahu Akbar and you enter into the prayer, this is where you're going to find the arkan. This is where you're going to find the arkan of the salah. Alright, guys? And we're going to cover it in more detail فيما بعد إن شاء الله تعالى. الصلاة يا إخواني وأخواتي فلا كما ذكرت في بداية المحاضرة من خصائص أهل الإيمان. Alright, للمؤمنين. وقد أمر الله سبحانه وتعالى بها في آيات كثيرة. The prayer, as I mentioned at the beginning of this lecture, is from those things that are exclusively for the believers. And Allah Tabarak.
You were just saying, were you saying if one condition is present and the others aren't, then the way the action that you're doing, you can't do the action that you want to do?
I wasn't saying that, but that's a good point. All of the conditions need to be fulfilled to the best of one's ability before you can make the salah. So you can't just be in wudu, for example, and then intentionally not face the qibla, and intentionally say, you know what, khalas, I don't want to cover my awrah, and still pray thinking that it's going to be accepted. Alright? All of the conditions have to be met before, inshallah ta'ala, that action will be accepted from Allah ta'ala. But what I was saying in the question, in the question I put to the floor, was that just because you fulfill a condition doesn't mean that the action's required. That's what I was saying.
So you're saying the fulfillment of a condition doesn't necessitate the outcome that you're looking for?
Exactly. The fulfillment of a condition does not necessitate the particular outcome in question. Does that make sense?
No.
I think that's an easy way of explaining it. Jazakumullahu khairan. طيب. So Allah Ta'ala orders the prayer in so many ayat in the Quran. We're going to take maybe 4 ayat. And I'm going to intentionally not mention the masdar, i.e. the source of where these ayat can be found. And for next week, homework is, let me find out which surah and which ayah number these ayat can be found. You guys catch that? Homework for next week. Next week, Wednesday, right? Next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Where can these ayat be found? Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala يقول في القرآن وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this goes to show the importance of studying the Arabic language. Because the ulama say that al-amru yaqtadi al-wujub. Al-amru yaqtadi al-wujub. The command form of the verb, Arabic language, necessitates a command. Necessitates an obligation. If Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala or His Messenger command you with something, then it goes to show that that thing is an obligation in Al-Islam. Except if we have another daleel which takes it down from al-wujub to al-mustahab. Unless if we have another proof or evidence that takes that command from being an obligation down to being something that is recommended that we do. But generally speaking, it's safe to say, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders something, you have to do it. And what does Allah say in His Quran? وَاسْتَعِينُوا. He commands the believers with al-isti'ana. Alright? Al-isti'ana is to seek help. Al-isti'ana means to seek help. So Allah says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا. He's speaking and addressing who? The companions. Because ultimately, ikhwan wa akhawat, when the Quran was revealed and you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressing people in the plural, who was He speaking to? Who is He speaking to? When the Quran was revealed and Allah is ordering a group of people, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, who's being addressed primarily? The Muslims, the companions. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een. May Allah be pleased with all of them without exception. It was the companions. And they are those people that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala in His infinite wisdom chose for the companionship of who? And if it wasn't for those blessed companions, we wouldn't have been, the deen wouldn't have been relayed to us. Am I lying, guys? Alright? وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, and seek help through as-sabr and as-salah. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ, that indeed, for verily, the salah is a kabira, something that is heavy and burdensome, except on those people that are humbly submissive. So from the characteristics or the sifat of the people that carry out the salah is that they are khashi'un. Khashi'un. So if I say to you guys, don't get it twisted, we're going to have tests. If I say to you in a test, give me a sifa. A sifa is an attribute. Min sifat ahli salah. Give me an attribute from the attributes of the people of the prayer. What are you going to say, akhi? Anta. What are you going to say? Muslim, what are you going to say? Let me pick on somebody else. Shaykh, what are you going to say? لو سألتك في الاختبار اذكر صفة واحدة من صفات أهل الصلاة، ماذا تقول يا شيخ وماذا تكتب في الاختبار؟ الله أكبر. لو قلت
آية قرآنية صلاتهم خاشعون.
أيوة أنهم خاشعون. A characteristic or an attribute of the people that pray, establish the prayer, is that they're humbly submissive. Humbly submissive to who?
Allah. From this ayah, can we deduce that they are people of sabr as well, or not?
Bila shak. They are people of sabr, but let's not understand that if a person falls short of the mark in displaying sabr in a situation, doesn't mean that he's a bad person per se, or he's not from the people of prayer. Because كل بني آدم خطاء كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Every son of Adam makes mistakes. So there's going to be times, whether it be the shaykh, whether it be the talib, or whether it be man dunahum, they're going to show deficiencies in their prayer, as-sabr, and sometimes maybe even in the prayer. Alright? We haven't been commanded to be perfect. And this is an important point that some people can be affected with, and I think we mentioned it in the previous lesson for 40 hadith from Imam al-Nawawi. Sometimes a person can get to the stage because they fall short, for example, in sabr, and a calamity afflicted this person, and he wasn't patient, and as a result, it knocks his iman for 6, and then he stops making dua, and then he stops attending the masjid, and then he leaves off the prayer totally, thinking that, subhanAllah, I'm a bad person now because I never had sabr. Knock yourself, dust yourself off and try again. Alright, dust yourself. Anytime you fall short of the mark as a Muslim in your life, especially the young brothers that are going to go through puberty and they're going to be going through different fitan. Anytime you make a mistake, never ever leave off making dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you're a sinner, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can answer your dua. Because He answered the dua of the worst of creation. And who's that? The shaitan. ايش الدليل؟ أبا سمية.
الشيطان قال الله give me respite.
أيوة. فأنذرني إلى يوم يبعثون. Allah Ta'ala. When Allah ordered the shaitan, astaghfirullah,
I know.
When Allah ordered the shaitan to prostrate before Adam, he refused and said, I'm not going to prostrate to a creation that was made from clay. Now, and then Allah Ta'ala says, فَخْرُجْ مِنْهَا, get out of here, you are cursed. The shaitan asks for respite. Respite, for those of you that don't know, give me some time, give me a time period whereby you will delay the punishment. And in that time, I'm going to show you that most of your creation that you just ordered me to bow down to are not going to be grateful. Alright? This, in effect, is a dua, it's a supplication, it's a request from the shaitan to Allah Ta'ala. What did Allah say? فَإِنَّكَ مِنَ الْمُنذِرِينَ. You are from those that have been granted respite. So if Allah Ta'ala granted the dua of the shaitan, then مَا بَالُنَا نَحْنُ. What's our situation? That we're not like the shaitan, inshaAllah ta'ala. طيب, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Homework number 1. I want to know which ayah this is in, which surah, which surah, and also the ayah number. وقال تبارك وتعالى وأقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وما تقدموا لأنفسكم من خير تجدوه عند الله إن الله بما تعملون بصير. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says in another tremendous verse in the Quran, this ayah again, just like the first one, is going to show the importance and the magnitude of the Salah in Al-Islam. Allah commands the believers, or He commands in the Quran, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, and establish the prayer. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and give the zakat. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ, and whatever you guys put forth from goodness, from yourselves, تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, you're going to find it with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ, that Allah is all seeing of what you do. Now, this is another ayah and another homework. لا بأس. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He says in the Quran, وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ, and establish the prayer. وَآتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and give the charity. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ, and whatever you put forth from goodness, تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, you will find it with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Indeed, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is all aware, all seeing of what you do. That's the second ayah.
You're going too fast for me to write down.
No problem. Have you got Facebook? Insta? Okay.
Can we get the ayat as a picture and then send it out so people can't copy the text?
Okay. But is everybody here on the WhatsApp group? Can I direct them to you?
We'll take their numbers on a sheet of paper.
Can I direct them to you though? After the class, Ikhwan, for those that want to participate in the WhatsApp group, inshallah ta'ala, come see Sheikh here and give him your number. He'll add you to the WhatsApp group, and I'll write the ayat without the reference of where they can be found. Alright? But I'll say it one more time though. And establish the prayer. And establish the prayer. And give the zakat. You writing? And give the zakat. And whatever you put forth from goodness, you will find it with Allah. Whatever you put forth from goodness, you will find it with Allah. Indeed, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is all seeing, all aware. He's basir. He sees everything that you do. Homework number 2 is which surah and which ayah number is this tremendous verse in. وَيَقُولُ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى وقوموا لله قانتين. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says in another ayah, preserve the prayers. Again, command form. This is 3 command forms of the verb that we've covered. حافظوا, حافظ يحافظ حافظ. Preserve the prayer. Guard your prayer. Safeguard the prayers. Especially as-salatul wusta. Now the ulama, they differ as what's intended by as-salatul wusta. The strongest opinion, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best, is that this word here, or these words here, as-salatul wusta, refers back to salat al-asr. And Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala knows best. اختلف العلماء. وقوموا لله قانتين. Again guys, I encourage you to learn the Arabic language. وقوموا, it's a command form of the verb again, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding the believers or the Muslims to stand. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ, and stand for Allah. قَانِتِينَ, submissive. I believe the translation for قَانِتِينَ is submissive, humble, and the likes. Homework number 3. Which surah and which ayah can this tremendous verse be found in? And the last ayah that we're going to take, and there's only 4. Believe me, ikhwan, I could have went on and on and on, but I just wanted to pick 4. إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. Indeed the salah, indeed the salah, كانت على المؤمنين, has been prescribed upon the believers. Who are the believers? أهل الإيمان. It's been prescribed for أهل الإيمان. Alright? كتابا موقوتا, at fixed times. The prayer has been prescribed, obligated upon the believers at dedicated fixed times. You guys got that? So homework number 4, surah and ayah number. Surah and ayah number. ممتاز. وكذلك الصلاة يا إخواني وأخواتي في الله من الأعمال التي يحبه الله تبارك وتعالى, حيث يقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث أخرجه البخاري في صحيحه. Also, The prayers from those actions that Allah loves. Al-Bukhari, he collected a hadith. فِيمَا يَرْوِيهِ عَنْ رَبِّهِ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى. And this hadith is a hadith Qudsi. Who can give me a quick, brief definition of a hadith Qudsi? Hadith Qudsi.
The literal words of the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Literal words? When you say the Quran is the literal words of Allah,
What I believe is
if you say that the hadith Qudsi is the literal words of Allah, can you pray with him?
no.
Are they the literal words of Allah? متأكد أخي? Would you put your house on it? If you're allowed?
The speech is from Allah, but the words are from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay. Just nasiha. See some... No, mumtaz. I'm just going to mention it just for... Sometimes when we speak, just people that are like naturally animated when they speak, they tend to point and make isharat when they're talking, right? To, emphasize their point. So when you're speaking about Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, especially when it comes to speaking about the sifat of Allah, the attributes of Allah, Allah has a hand, alright? Allah speaks, etc. Allah sees. It's so important that we don't make ishara to ourselves when we're speaking about Allah. Because it could be understood by somebody that's present that if you point to your mouth and you do this, when you say Allah has a mouth like we have a mouth. Or if you hold up your hand and you're speaking about the hand of Allah, it could come to somebody's mind that Allah's hand is like our hand. And it's so important that the Aqeedah of the Muslim is correct. And that is that whilst some of the sifat of Allah are consistent with the sifat that human beings have, they're not the same. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ. There is absolutely nothing like him. So that was just a quick pointer. What was the actual thing you said?
The speech is from Allah, but the words are from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay, the meaning is from Allah, but the words are from the Prophet ﷺ. You see, Akhi? This Hadith Qudsi is the Prophet's words, but the meaning of that is from Allah Ta'ala. If you say the Hadith Qudsi is the literal words of Allah, then ما هو الفرق بين هذا والقرآن?
وما الفرق بين هذا وحديث؟
Hadith.
Qudsi, hadith, Qudsi, and hadith. Because if you're saying it's because the ma'na from Allah, or the words are from the Prophet, isn't that the same as the normal hadith?
But when you check a normal hadith, you have عن فلان عن فلان عن فلان عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال كذا. And طبعا everything that the Prophet ﷺ did or said was inspired from Allah. لا ينطق عن الهوى كما قال النبي عليه الصلاة كما قال الله تبارك وتعالى. He didn't used to speak from his own desires. But when you look at the chain of the narration of the hadith Qudsi, it could be عن فلان عن فلان عن رسول الله قال قال الله. It's different. It's Allah's words, but it's Allah. The meaning is from Allah, but the words are expressed through the Prophet, and Allah knows best. If you've got anything, like you've come across anything that yukhalifu dhalik, jib. Next week, of course, inshallah ta'ala. Basically, I'm saying, if anybody has anything that contradicts what I just mentioned now, then please bring it next week, inshallah ta'ala. We're all here to learn. Anyway, I'm going to mention a hadith Qudsi, which goes to show that this action is beloved by Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala says, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُ عَلَيْهِ وَلَا يَزَالُ عَبْدِي يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ حَتَّى أُحِبَّهُ. The Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, and this hadith can be found in the Sahih of Imam Al-Bukhari, excellent, that my slave, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ. This is, by the way, this isn't all the hadith. It's part of the hadith. I didn't narrate all of it. I just wanted to get the shahid. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي. Allah said that my servant, my slave, does not draw near to me with anything. بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ, that is beloved to me, مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُ عَلَيْهِ, except that which I have made incumbent upon him. So oftentimes, and this is a tremendously important point.
Draw near to me.
My slave does not draw near to me with anything except that which I have iftarabtu alayhi, i.e. I've made fard upon him. Oftentimes, guys, a person will want to express his love for Allah. So in doing so, he tries to do all of the things that are nafil from the nawafil. He does his sunnah prayers and stuff like that. He fasts on the Mondays and the Thursdays and ayam al-bid and stuff like that. but he is deficient in some of those things that Allah has made an obligation upon him. He doesn't fast all of the days of Ramadan. He doesn't always pray on time. Alright? He's reached his money, his wealth has reached the nisab by which he has to pay zakat, but he's lackadaisical when he's negligent when it comes to giving it. But he wants to carry out those things which are highly, highly recommended in the religion. This is it's a backwards mentality. If you want Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala to love you, the blueprint is here. Fulfill those things that Allah has made an obligation upon you before anything else. Once you've got that steady, then you can start to increase. Alright? Then you can start to increase. Don't put the horse before the car, as they say. You guys understand the expression? What did I say? I wanted to see if he was paying attention. And you are, mashallah. Don't put the cart before the horse. The horse pulls the cart don't pull the horse. Alright guys? So make sure you deal with, we as all of us, we should focus on what has Allah made incumbent upon us. Before you focus on those things that are optional. Does that make sense, ikhwan? Mumtaz. Mumtaz. What does na'am mean? Excellent. ومما يدل على أهمية الصلاة في الإسلام أنه أول واجب بعد الشهادتين وأول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. What does that mean, أخي? You speak Arabic?
No. قلت أنها صح الصلاة.
أنها أول واجب نعم بعد شهادتين وأول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة. جزاك الله خيرا. تتكلم بالعربية؟ أنت؟
Allah will ask me يوم القيامة.
The answer is الصلاة.
لا. I said ترجم, translate. And what will make you know ومما يدل and what will indicate على أهميتها في الإسلام, the importance of the salah in Islam, like I mentioned so many times before, it's the first obligation after the shahadatain, and the first thing that we're going to be asked about يوم القيامة. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث متفق على صحته أن النبي صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم بعث معاذا إلى اليمن. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he sent his companion Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ila Yemen. And what did he say to him when he sent him to Yemen? Shaykh. When the Prophet ﷺ sent Mu'adh to Yemen, he gave him a strict order. What did he say?
If they believe.
We're going to the people of the books of speech, Tawheed first.
Excellent. He said to him, إِنَّكَ تَأْتِي قَوْمًا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ فليكن أول ما تدعوهم إليه شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله فإنهم أطاعوك لذلك فأعلمهم أن الله ماذا؟ فبعد التوحيد صدقة الصلاة فإنهم أطاعوك لذلك, if they obey you in that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his final slave and messenger, فإنهم أطاعوك لذلك فأعلمهم, then teach them أن الله افترض عليهم 5 صلوات في كل يوم وليلة أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Again, the Prophet ﷺ, he sent his representative to deliver an important message. Of course, he's going to start off with what's most important, and then lesser in degree. The first thing and the most important is your shahada, is that you enter into Islam. After that, teach them, inform them that Allah has made incumbent upon them the 5 daily prayers. Alright? And we can take from this that when you're seeking knowledge or when you're doing anything in Islam, you do it bit tadarruj. You do it in steps. If you try to take on everything in Islam at one go, you're just going to burn out. And we've seen it happen so many times. Abu Sumayr and I, we came to Islam around the same time. And we've got stories for days of brothers that came, and looking back now in retrospect, you would consider them to be mutashaddidun. They were really, really strict, doing everything. And when you try to do everything, we just come from kufr and shirk and ma'asi. When you try to do everything at once, you just can't make a tahammul. Hatta with the companions, the Prophet, Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, he never sent down all of the ahkam al-sharia in one go. When the order for salah first came down, who knows how many times the Muslims were praying at the time? They were only praying 2 times a day. They were only praying 2 times a day. And we know from the story of Al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, when the Prophet ﷺ ascended the 7 heavens, how many times did Allah obligate the salah? That's for you at the back. La la la. Okay, I was talking to you, but no problem. Are you brothers? Okay, 50 times. And then he went down, 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 down until he got to 5. Each time when the Prophet left, he saw who? He saw one of the tremendous prophets. He saw Musa alayhi salam. What did Musa say to him?
He said, you people cannot do 5, whatever number of salah.
Your people won't be able to
Pray.
to handle that many salawat. Alright? So he kept on coming down until when he come to 5, and then the Prophet ﷺ saw Musa. What did Musa say?
The same thing.
He said the same thing. What did the Prophet ﷺ say?
He said, I'm too ashamed to go back to
Or too shy. I'm too shy to go back up. Shukr. Huh? Is there no sisters?
Just change that. Just change that.
Okay, shukr. No worries.
So can you repeat the hadith in Arabic?
نعم قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا لما بعث معاذ إلى يمن قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم له يا معاذ okay we're just sorting out the microphone. Now طيب, apologies sister. Now the brother just asked me if I can repeat the hadith when the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم sent who? Mu'adh إلى أين؟ إلى اليمن. The Prophet sent Mu'adh to Yemen. وقال له يا معاذ إنك تأتي قوما من أهل الكتاب. O Mu'adh, you are going to come across a people of the book, i.e. the Jews and the Christians. فليكن أول ما تدعوهم إليه. Sorry guys. فليكن أول ما تدعو. فليكن أمر لام الأمر هنا. فليكن أول ما تدعوهم إليه شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله فإنهم أطاعوك لذلك, and if they obey you in that فأعلمهم أن الله افترض عليهم 5 صلوات في كل يوم وليلة أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. إخوان, sometimes one of you might want to go back and check the word in the alfaz. Alfaz means wording of the particular hadith I narrated. You might find al-alfaz مختلفة, different wordings of the same hadith, and that's fine. That's fine. And sometimes you may hear me narrate a hadith, and at the end of the hadith, what do you hear me say oftentimes? Oh, kama qala al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why do I say that? غيرك أنت. Otherwise, me and you might as well just do this ourselves. Why do I say, oh, kama qala al-Nabi? First of all, what does oh, kama qala al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mean?
Said by Prophet Muhammad.
Very, very good, very good. You learning Arabic right now? Very close. What is it when I say, so all this time I've been saying, oh, kama qala, and nobody, the majority of you don't understand what it means, nobody asks me?
As he says.
Or as he says. And we were taught this expression when we were in Medina, so that when you narrate a hadith and you're not entirely sure of the wording, it could be that I made a mistake, or I added a word, or I took out a word. I say, or as the Prophet ﷺ says, so I don't attribute something to our beloved, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that which he didn't say. That which he didn't say. So that's my safety net. If I quote a hadith and I say the Prophet, peace be upon him, said X, Y, Z, I would just say, oh, kama qala. And you hear the ulama saying this as well. Additionally, the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith, authentic hadith, بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامُ عَلَى خَمْسٍ شَهَادَةِ أَنْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ وَإِقَامِ الصَّلَاةِ. Ikhwan, I know it's dragging on, but at the end of the day, I'm trying to draw an important point home, and that is that prayer in Al-Islam is crucially important. It's crucially important because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered it in various ayat in the Quran. It's crucially important because Allah tabarak wa ta'ala loves it. It's crucially important because it's the first obligation after the Shahadatain. It's crucially important because it's the first thing that we're going to be asked about Yawm al-Qiyamah. And it's fair enough me giving you and saying this. But as Muslims, we need to get acquainted with, if somebody says something's from the religion, you need to know where that proof is. Or if you don't know off the top of your head, you need to find out, or you need to know how I can find that proof. This is why I'm giving you the dalil for everything that I'm saying right now. Alright? I know it's because I'm getting hot myself. Can we open up those windows? Do you mind? Now, وكذلك ومما يدل على أنها أي الصلاة أول ما يسأل عنه العبد يوم القيامة حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أول ما يحاسب به العبد يوم القيامة من عمله صلاته. This hadith is on the authority of Abu Huraira. Who knows the name of Abu Huraira? Ala Sahih, the correct name of Abu Huraira. Abu Dhar? La, good try though. Who knows? Abu Huraira is the kunya. Abu Sumayya, Abu Zakariya. Who knows Abu Huraira's real name? Abdullah? Good try, Akhi, but la. من قال؟ أيوة ما شاء الله شيخ يجلس في عبد الرحمن ibn Sakhar. Abd al-Rahman ibn al-Sakhar. That's Abu Huraira's real name. Abu Huraira is a kunya which he's famous for. And it's said that he used to keep a cat in his sleeve or somewhere on his... And he became Abu Huraira due to his love for cats. But his name's Abd al-Rahman ibn Sakhar. He said that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّ أَوَّلَ مَا يُحَاسِبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That indeed the first thing that the slave is going to be held accountable for يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ from his actions, salatuhu. It's the dalil that this is the first thing that we're going to be asked about on the Day of Judgment. فَإِن صَلُحَتْ فَقَدْ أَفْلَحَ وَأَنْجَحَ. If his salawat are in order, then he has succeeded and he will be successful. وَإِن فَسَدَتْ. And if it's not in order, if it's corrupt, فَقَدْ خَابَ وَخَسِرَ. Then he has failed and lost. Al-Hadith. This hadith can be found in At-Tirmidhi, wa Abu Dawood, wa Ibn Majah, wa Ahmad. At-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, wa Ibn Majah, wa Ahmad. And the last thing, Ikhwani wa Akhawati fillah, that we're going to cover. How are we doing for time, Akh? Half eight. We stop after this? متى بدأنا? 7:30. So it's about تقريبا ساعة. Yeah? طيب. Alright. Okay. I'll just finish off this page and then inshallah ta'ala we'll wrap it up inshallah. This is just my muqaddimah, ikhwan. Oftentimes when you study a book, you never ever just go straight into the book. We have to prepare ourselves for what's about to go ahead. Alright? وأخيرا يا أيها الإخوة والأخوات الصلاة فارقة بين الإيمان والكفر. That the prayer is one of those distinguishing features between al-imanu wal-kufr, between faith and disbelief. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam said in an authentic hadith, as we mentioned today, Shaykh Mustafa, العهد الذي بيننا وبينهم الصلاة فمن تركها فقد كفر. The covenant that we have, the covenant between us and them. When we say the covenant between بيننا وبينهم, who's whom? The kuffar, the mushrikeen. Alright, the covenant between us and them is the salah. Whomsoever abandons the salah, then he is indeed what? He's effectively, yes, he's disbelieved. Kafara. He's disbelieved. And again, I mentioned, this is from the proof that of those ulama that say if you abandon the prayer, you're a non-Muslim. Also the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi, I want to know where that hadith can be found. Is it Sahih Bukhari, is it Sahih Muslim, or is it muttafaqun alayh? Al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum. The covenant between us and them is the prayer. Whomsoever abandons it and leaves it off has indeed disbelieved. Alright? Where can that hadith be found? Again? Is an ayah? What's the ayah? I can't remember off head, to be honest. I can't remember off head. The hadith again? The hadith is the covenant between us and them is the prayer. Whomsoever abandons the prayer has disbelieved. Whomsoever abandons the prayer has disbelieved. And lastly, ikhwan, is the last piece of dalil I'm going to give you for today. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam said, بَيْنَ الرَّجُلِ وَبَيْنَ الشِّرْكِ وَالْكُفْرِ تَرَكَ الصَّلَاةِ أو كما قال النبي. Between a man and between polytheism, a shirk, and disbelief, kufr, is the abandonment of the prayer. This is why I said that the prayer is a distinguishing feature which distinguishes between belief and disbelief.
Can you repeat it?
بين الرجل وبين الشرك والكفر ترك الصلاة. Between a man and between a shirk and kufr, between polytheism and disbelief, is the abandonment of the prayer. فهذان الحديثان من الأدلة التي تدل على أن تارك الصلاة كافر. These two ahadith that I've just quoted are from the proof